our guy. James, we appreciate you for being with us. How you doing, my friend?
Good. You brought up Dusty Baker there, and Sean Cunningham told a really incredible story about Dusty Baker when he was a kid on the podcast last week. And he said he went to a car dealership. He was like the last one in line, and all he had was a ratty baseball because Sean grew up a poor kid, which he talks about, and they were out of pennants. And Dusty looked at the ball and was like, "Is this what you want me to sign?" He's like, "That's all I got." And he went over and found a banner thing that had been like someone had misspelled on, and he crossed out the stuff and covered it up, and then wrote to Sean, and just it changed Dusty. I changed Sean's point of view on baseball and on fandom and celebrities. Yeah, just really good stuff.
But there's more to the story.
Yeah, there is more. He asked him why they let Will Clark go, and Dusty said, "Well, what would happen if you went over and asked your mom for $100 right now?" And he goes, "Well, she's not going to give that to me. She doesn't have that." And he goes, "That's why Will Clark isn't with us anymore."
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great story. It's a great story. Yeah, not to steal Sean's story, but yeah, it's a great story.
It's on episode 1 of the King's Beat.
So yeah, it's on episode 1 of the King's Beat podcast. Yeah,
it's
so.
really
Dusty Baker. Just real quick to finish that thought. I mean, a baseball lifer, one of the best baseball managers I've ever seen in my life, and he's done it in numerous different situations, and he just won it one time to get that. And it's not over. He's still going to be the manager, and maybe they have a chance next year, but that team is going to change as well. Carlos Correa, he's going to be gone. And maybe some other guys. This might have been his best chance ever. And I just feel bad for Dusty. Is there somebody in the NBA that you feel that way about? Like, I just want him to win one time because he's seen it all. He's done it. He deserves an opportunity to win.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll say this too, just to finish up on Dusty. Like, if you grew up in this area, like I did, I was born in Sacramento. I grew up in Grass Valley. Like, the good kids that, the kids that were the stars on the baseball diamond, all of them, like, they all went to Dusty Baker camp. Like, it was like that was the thing in Sacramento. If you were really good, your parents would shell out and you got to go to Dusty Baker camp. And so, like, his imprint on the Sacramento baseball scene is so tremendous. Guys, I'm sure guys like Greg Vaughn grew up seeing him, and just like so many people. So just a huge influence in Sacramento. When it comes to like the guys that you just wish would win one, like Chris Paul just, got to the top of the mountain and didn't get over the top. Yeah. He's one guy, but I've never been a huge fan. So he's not like someone that you openly like hope good things for on a basketball court. But like I think it's cool that some of these guys, like, again, Mitch Richmond plays 8 seasons in Sacramento in total obscurity. They make the playoffs one time in his entire tenure. He's literally the second best shooting guard in the league, according to Michael Jordan. While I hate that he won it with the Lakers, the fact that he snuck one in at the end, that was cool. The fact that Karl Malone tried to sneak one in and didn't get there, I thought that was cool as well. So, good things happen to good people, bad things, well,
not so much.
Yeah. So, I don't have someone that you're just like absolutely pulling for. And if there was, it would be a guy who was on one team his whole career, like the Dirk Nowitzki thing, the John Stockton thing. Those are the guys that I think that you should pull for. The guys that like stuck it out. Like,
come on, Russell Westbrook. Like, the answer is Russell Westbrook. Like, come on.
So look, I feel the same way as Damian does. Like, I want to see Russ win one. Like, I do. And I kind of hope he gets traded again because I don't want it to be with the Lakers. Although, knowing Russ, knowing the dynamics of LA, I mean, that would be, nobody likes it out here. Okay, Lake Show, all that other stuff. That would be a great story for him to come back home and win one in LA. That would be great. But we're missing one that I just thought about. That's never going to happen, but I think we're all in agreement. Rick Adelman is like the Dusty Baker of.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And
it wasn't just what he did here in Sacramento. I mean, what he did in Portland was incredible. The fact that they made it to the Western Conference Finals, and the NBA Finals a couple of times, right?
Yeah, Portland. Yeah, he went with Portland
with those
twice.
incredible teams of Terry Porter and Clyde Drexler and Duckworth and Cliff Robinson, Livingston, like Buck Williams, like a bunch of players from that team have passed away, unfortunately. Just kind of a weird anomaly from that era of basketball. But he had such a great run in Sacramento after a really bad run in Golden State. People forget he was in Golden State for like a blink of an eye. But then what he did in Houston, to me, is always something that just really did not get enough credit. He won, I think it was 21 straight, and like 11 games in, Yao Ming went down, and like 12 games in, Tracy McGrady went down, and they just kept winning. And that it was a staple of a Rick Adelman team, the next man up mentality. It's something that I've never seen another coach have so much success with. When one guy goes down, the next guy who steps up is going to fill a role, and they're going to keep rolling. And he did it so well here in Sacramento. The Kings were so good without Chris Webber during the time when he blew out his knee. But it was always, who is going to step in? Who's going to help out? And Rick Adelman had a knack for not just having, he had the players for sure, which was Jeff Petrie, but also the knack for empowering guys to take that next step in their game and have the other guys around support and raise their games up to make up for whatever was lost. So I think he was just a genius of a coach.
1320 Kings insider James Ham with us here. James, another close loss last night. Another tough one. And another rough night for De'Aaron Fox. At some point, they've got to get these close games, don't they, against these good teams?
Yeah, I think it's so interesting because the one thing that we knew about Fox last season was when the chips were down in the fourth quarter, he just performed so incredibly well. I mean, he was like one of the league leaders in points in the fourth quarter, right? And just his ability to pick it up there and to close out games, or to keep the Kings in games, or climb back in games, it was elite. And so what we're seeing here is that one ingredient that you're missing is kind of all on one guy. You're waiting for him to be your closer. So I'll bring up a closer. It kind of feels like, when you have a baseball team and you go through like a 3 or 4 game stretch where your closer just gets hit, and he's incredible, he's great. But instead of the baseball analogy, while I'll end it there, is because a guy like Blake Trinan, who was so incredibly good for the A's, he had like a .74 ERA one season, and he was just lights out every single time. The next season he came out and he couldn't get anybody out. He was just a mess from the opening. And that's the difference with a baseball closer. Like those guys, it's almost like every other year closers have a good year, or every other year good relievers, can have a down season. This, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense outside of the fact that his shot isn't falling. Teams just are backing off him and saying, okay, if you can't shoot, then we're just going to crowd the lane and you can't get through us. And so he's not getting foul calls. He looks like he's pressing. The 0 for 9 start was pretty brutal. But at the end of the day, this team will only go as far as he can carry you. And people can say, well, they're deep, they have more talent. All of that is true. This team is built around that guy. And when that guy is down, you're going to have a tough time winning consistently. And realistically, I'm not saying that, they can't be a good team all the way through the season. I'm just saying that if they're going to take a leap, he has to be right. And so you got to ride this thing out, and everybody is being supportive. Everybody is on board. Tyrese Halliburton said, like, look, I think it's totally overblown. It's not overblown. I mean, it's not. I think he's had one good game that I would point to out of the first 7, and it was the first game. But at some point, he's got to start hitting his shots and opening everything up for everyone else. And when that happens, I think the Kings are going to be really, really difficult to beat, because overall they're showing a lot of good stuff. It's just that one missing ingredient that's kind of out there. I mean, we can't even talk about Terrence Davis and his struggles until you get De'Aaron Fox right. And once he's right, I expect this team to be really exciting to watch.
Terrence Davis ain't struggling no more.
The classic Luke Walton, I want to see if we can get this win maneuver, is to go to an 8-man rotation and to just cut out the like 12 minutes from somebody that maybe is struggling. And like, look, maybe he gets his shot tonight. Maybe he gets more of a shot tonight to really shine. And
he's going to have to, isn't he? I mean, he can't run 8 again tonight.
No, you can't run 8 on the second night of back-to-back. But I mean, look at what Pelicans are rolling in. What Herbert Jones hit his head last night, and he's out with a concussion. Brandon Ingram is questionable. I would say there's a 50-50 chance he'll play, but there's a pretty good chance. But no Zion. Like, this is a game you got to get. And Rashawn Holmes is not even on the injured list after last night's near catastrophic holy cow moment. I just could not believe watching him come back out from the tunnel and like, oh, there he is. Like, he looked like he was in some pain, but he was ready. He kept playing.
As Dr. Holmes said on Twitter last night, he's a warrior. All right, and they got to worry about it. He's a warrior, and he showed that last night. Now, I want to go back to something you said just a second ago, though, James, and I have the same outlook about what's going on with this team right now. No, I don't think anybody's really playing perfect, aside from maybe Harrison. But
because he's perfect. Yes.
Yeah, but everybody is doing okay, and like you said, the missing link is the guy that I like to call the straw that stirs the drink, and I think I'm very confident he'll play better. Like he'll get close to his averages or anything like that. But in your mind, is it that simple that everybody is kind of doing? I say this all the time. Everybody's kind of doing what they need you to do to get you to the point. And once you get to that point, your closer's got to bring you home. And the closer hasn't brought him home. It's as simple as that. The closer's not there. He hasn't been able to bring him home. And once he can snap out of what's going on, is it as simple as like, this team can, I don't want to say catch fire. That seems like an exaggeration, but they can start to really find out who they really are.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I think it is that simple. Like maybe it's not. I mean, I think this team is still going to have like the ebbs and flows of a season. But you can drive an 8-cylinder car with a bad spark plug wire or a blown spark plug. You can drive on 7 cylinders. You can hear it. You can hear the missing cylinder. But and it doesn't have the juice when you want to go climb a hill and you want to put your foot to the floor. You can hear it misfiring. That's what it kind of looks like to me right now. It's just like the second you get whatever that one spark plug is, now you're ready to roll. And I think that, he's a guy that he wants it so bad that like people might not understand that about him because he is kind of flipping in his answers and he's just kind of laid back and he's a little different. But he wants it. And he also, I know for a fact that the weight of the contract is on him. He feels it. And so that's another aspect to this that I think is just kind of missed. But also, like, there are a lot of new pieces here, and a lot of guys look like they're kind of searching a little bit. And it's the veteran guys that aren't searching that are succeeding for this team. And while Fox is in his 5th NBA season, you mess with a lot of the pieces that help him. And I just think that there's going to be a moment where it's just like, okay, the first shot goes down, the second shot goes down. Now let's see what we got. And we're going to see him just explode. And I don't buy into he gained too much weight. I don't buy, that he bulked up too much, that he's not as quick. I just think that every team in the league is going underneath the screen and they're saying, go ahead and beat us. And if you can't show us that you can hit it, then, we're just going to keep staying out here. It's kind of like the old Mike Conley thing. Mike Conley used to be able to do the same thing because he wasn't a 3-point shooter early in his career. Now, what we saw against Utah, where the Kings just let him shoot, that was not by design. Luke Walton was so angry about the defense on Conley on the 3-point line, but that's what, he made them pay with what teams are trying to do with Fox. And the difference is that Fox missed his first 9 shots and Conley scored 30 because he hit all those threes. And that's realistically, that's the difference in that game. If Fox starts hitting his shots, the Kings, I'm shocked to say that the Kings could have easily beat the Jazz. They've hung in against what is probably the most difficult team in the league to defend. And they hung in 2 games this season and lost down the stretch when they systematically destroy you like every Utah Jazz team has for the last 4 decades.
Yeah.
Are you aware of any injury at all
to Fox?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think in the second game of the season, was that when they played Utah?
Yep.
Gobert got him hard on the back of his left shoulder. But Fox is a guy that will wear KT tape and stuff like that. So there's nothing there. He's not wearing anything. And we're watching him shoot. We watch him shoot in practice all the time. He's not a guy who's going to hit 90 out of 100 3-point shooter with no one on him. But he's a good 3-point shooter. He's got a clean stroke. It's just not falling. And again, I think it's just that 1 or 2 shots go down. It's the same thing that we've always said about Terrence Davis. If the first shot goes in, look out. Terrence Davis is going to torch you. If the first shot doesn't go in, then you really have to gauge how much of a leash you're going to give him, whether you're going to let him play 2 or 3 minutes or you're going to pull him out quickly and say, okay, let's try this again later. But with Fox, I just think that it opens up everything else in his game. The spacing on the floor changes the second he starts hitting those open shots, just like the spacing on the floor opens up the second that Mo Harkless starts hitting shots. I think it's a lot of these guys have to start hitting at the same time, and we haven't really seen that.
KC, real quick, we're going to come back. We're going to talk more with James Ham, Kings Insider James Ham, before he hits the road and starts heading to the Golden One Center. This is some big news, though, from The Athletic. Buster Posey will announce his retirement tomorrow.
Yeah.
KC, that's your man. So you need a moment?
You want to talk
you need an Al Duncan moment?
Hey, Buster Posey has given myself and all Giants fans more than we could have dreamed of. 3, I'm a big believer that 3 championships, maybe not even one of them, happens without Buster Posey. So, man,
Hall of Famer.
Oh, but he, well, that's questionable. That's debatable.
It is.
But he's a Giants Hall of Famer for sure.
This is baseball. He's clean. He's good. He's a Hall of Famer. That's how baseball works now. But Buster Posey will announce his retirement, this according to The Athletic, tomorrow. James Ham's going to come back. He'll talk more. We'll talk more about the Sacramento Kings, the game last night. We'll talk more about De'Aaron Fox, and we'll talk more about the game tonight versus the Pelicans next year on Sacramento's #1 sports station, ESPN 1320. All right.
Boy, that's a shocker.
Right. Yeah. Rob W. and John Bull, you guys know how to wear a joke out. To the point.
What happened?
They're on this whole kick of everything is De'Aaron Fox's fault, mocking people who say that. And they're so anything that said it's raining outside, or if De'Aaron Fox played better, it wouldn't rain. But they've done that.
If De'Aaron Fox was playing better, Buster Posey would still be playing next year.
If he would have done that for the first time right there, it'd probably be funny. But they've said that about everything 90 times for the last.
Well, let them wear the joke out. That's you gotta learn to go to a different tab and just let the chat rock.
I mean, when I heard it the first 5 times, I chuckled. Now it's like, geez, we're still.
Oh, Mrs. Mac 10 got something in the mail today.
Mac 10 is the Lick West Side.
Mrs. Mac 10 got something in the mail today.
Hey.
Now that I think about it, James, you should be getting something in the mail today too.
Oh, today. Nice.
yeah.
Well, I mean, if Mrs.
Yeah.
Mac-10 got hers, I gotta imagine you
That's
got
funny.
yours.
Yeah, John Bull is gonna wear out that joke because he still has this "Let's Go" GIF that he
Oh my God,
like he uses it for every
he
occasion. Yep.
loves that GIF.
It's
I started texting him if we're exchanging messages. It'll just say, "Let's go," kid jumping around on playground.
yeah, there you go. They're telling me that today in the mail I'm getting drugs. That's what I'm getting from you. It's drug chain. It's drugs. Yeah. I think I read that right, Kyle G. Right?
Yeah.
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 Anyway. Yeah, I can't believe Buster's gonna. Well, I mean, good for Buster Posey. I mean, they have triplets at home, so
Yeah.
like that's life changing. That's life altering, and so
How old is
gotta
Buster? I feel like he's been in the league for a long time.
33, 34.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
he could have played a few more years.
Yeah. 34. Doesn't turn 35 till more. Oh, he definitely. But that catcher position is tough, though. He might be 34. His knees might be 49.
Well, plus he had that ankle injury. You
Yeah.
get the game changing where they changed all the rules, the Buster Posey rules.
Oh, yeah. Gosh.
Mhm.
That was the right call, though. And yes.
Yeah. I kind of like what they're doing. I did not like guys getting run over at home plate. I just didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Because then it made you want to get every catching prospect that got to AAA and started hitting. Then you couldn't use him as a catcher anymore. So, well, that and catchers got bigger. Like, man, I'm not going in strong against the A's catcher. That kid is huge.
Yeah.
Sean Murphy is huge. I'm not going anywhere near that guy. So, and it always goes back to the Ray Fosse incident. How in the world did they change it now as opposed to when Ray Fosse got plowed by Pete Rose in the
Violent. So violent.
Actually, I have a picture of that up on my wall up above us.
You should see James Ham's setup. James' setup is legit. He texts me like,
today?
"You sound great."
Okay.
Yeah, you always sound great. Yeah. Yeah, you sound great.
Yeah, you got to see the picture. I got like little soundboards and everything.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. I'll keep building on it.
That's what I kept doing. Kept building. I was like, I need another room for this.
Yeah. I know my wife's like, maybe we need to wall in the bar. And I'm like,
Kenny about to get thrown out of his house.
I don't know where I'm going when the parts get done.
Hang on. Back here with ESPN 1320 Kings insider James Ham. It's another game day for your Sacramento Kings. Of course, they lost a close one to the Utah Jazz, and that has been the story of the season. Play good enough to be in it late, but not quite be able to finish it. Outside of De'Aaron, De'Aaron's going to get a brunt of the criticism, obviously going scoreless in the first half. Did you see, I know it felt like, Kenny mentioned the fourth quarter. I saw it a lot in the first half. De'Aaron was like hanging out in the corner during the offense, and there must have been 3 or 4 consecutive plays where he's just in the corner, nothing happening. Like, what is Luke's game plan there? Like, what part of the offense is that where De'Aaron is just completely not involved in it?
Well, I mean, he's still involved. By standing in the corner, he's pulling his man out to the corner. And opening the spacing. I assume when you saw that, it was like Halliburton's time to run the offense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
So when you're doing that, what you need to do is you need to space the floor because Halliburton gets in a lot of 2-man game action with Rashawn Holmes, and so they're coming out and working a 2-man game. So you'll see those two will work a 2-man game, and then you'll also see Fox and Harrison Barnes work the 2-man game, which is just like I think it's comfort level stuff. Fox, I mean, he can throw a lob, but he isn't known as a lob man, where Halliburton throws like the cleanest lob ever. You kind of wish that you got to see a guy like Willie Cauley-Stein that could catch and finish like above the rim all over the place with a guy like Halliburton as well. And then, so what you need is for him to space the floor. It's why Halliburton is usually standing in the corner while Fox has the ball. It's just a different corner most of the time because, of course, Fox usually attacks from the left, where Halliburton usually attacks from the right.
That makes sense. I talked about it earlier. I don't know. Halliburton is a great ball handler as well, and creative for others and things of that nature. I like to see Fox with the ball, man. You know what I mean? I want to see, especially late in games like that. And I know it's not like Halliburton is incapable, but I don't like seeing De'Aaron Fox just hanging out in the corner because he's like, yeah, the guy draws out to him a little bit, but going back to what we talked about earlier, they're not going to be going out that deep with him into the corner because nobody's really respecting the shot. In certain aspects, I feel like they will respect Halliburton's shot a little bit more than De'Aaron Fox's. So I don't know, James. I just want to see him with the ball more, making decisions in that situation. And when he does, Halliburton, maybe there's a different role for him than just standing in the corner. I don't know. I feel like they're trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure it out. We're all trying to figure out what to do with these guys late in games. But I want De'Aaron Fox with the ball more late in games.
So what both of you are saying is that nobody puts De'Aaron Fox in the corner.
Nobody puts baby in.
That's
there
a
we go.
reference.
That's what we're getting at here. So look, I think what we're seeing, number one, I'm going to go back to the fact that when Fox is at the top of the key right now, teams are just collapsing everything. They're just completely collapsing the lane. And so he can't run in there and do damage, right? And so it completely disrupts the flow of the offense. And if Fox is having one of those games where he's off, like you just can't give up a game because he's missing. You have to let other guys kind of figure out what they're doing. And I think like Davion is a guy that's like, all right, like, look, I don't care. I'm going to run in there against Gobert or Whiteside. I don't know any better at this point, where a lot of the other guys clearly knew better. They would get in the key and then be like, okay, where am I going to go now? But I think the other thing I'll add is that right now we're in like the first, 10 games of the season, and preseason, you're still building out your offense. So as you're going to see like this homestand, they're going to have plenty of practice time and stuff. You're going to see new wrinkles to the offense. So right now it's stand in the corner, but there's going to come a point where Fox makes a quick back cut, which will shift the defense. And then you're going to start seeing plays off of that. So it's the counter to the counter to the counter. I just don't think we're quite to the counter to the counter to the counter yet, because too many new pieces, too many new players learning the offense. So right now you have base packages, and then we're going to see those base packages expand as the season goes on. That's usually what happens.
And that's good clarification, because maybe that's what I'm looking for, and we're not there yet, right? Like,
Yeah.
But then I want to see. I don't want to see them just standing there. You know what I mean? Like maybe a back cut or a back screen, whatever the case may be, in action off of that. But like to your point, it'll come. We're just not to that point yet with this group.
Well, yeah. And I mean, also look at we talked about Halliburton and Rashawn Holmes in the 2-man game. I mean, there's a lot you can say about the other two guys that they're using at that center position.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of them can do what Rashawn Holmes can do. I mean, they're not even the same player type.
Right.
So, again, Alex Len is working on his little Rashawn Holmes push shot, and Tristan Thompson likes to bully his way to the basket down there, but you don't have another lob guy. So again, I think they're trying to figure out like the layers to the onion here, because I could make an argument that if Rashawn Holmes weren't going to play, that I would almost rather see a guy like Damian Jones, who is a lob guy, who is a pick and roll guy, in the game, before I would see, say, Marvin Bagley, because Marvin, again, isn't a prototypical role guy. He's more of a back to basket guy on the left side. And so, there's a lot of dynamics here in play. Even Chimezie Metu is a guy that he's really good in the pick and roll. He can shoot the three, but he also likes to elevate and hammer balls down on top of people in the pick and roll. And so I think that there's just we always talk about this, and I think people they're like, oh, number one, is an excuse that they just haven't had enough time together. But it's also, look, you need to figure out the finer nuances of every single player and how they fit into the puzzle. And if the Kings had, even like, I could see at a certain point this season where maybe Mo Harkless is in a 2-man game with a guy like Halliburton, because he does have that length and athleticism, then maybe he could be a role guy when, you do certain sets. I think there's just a lot of things that still need to be sort of ironed out here in the offensive sets and the defensive sets. And, I'll point to this. The Kings are, I think I read this morning, they're number 3 in the league in pace. Like, they're doing what people want. It's a fun style of basketball. They're moving up and down the court. Their defense is better. It's not spectacular, but it's way better. They're playing a brand of basketball that I think is sustainable. And if they can get everyone on the same page, I think it's actually something that can, succeed.
Wow.
And Mo Harkless, what a perfect 4 for the Sacramento Kings. I mean, like, I wasn't concerned about Mo Harkless in that position at all. Like, it has just worked out brilliantly. He has just been the perfect guy for the Sacramento Kings there at that 4 position. I'm a big Mo Harkless guy, James, as you're very aware of. Can we give, like, Kenny thinks he figured out the formula. You want to share the Buddy Hield formula?
Yeah,
with James Ham.
Yeah.
We've figured out the key. Pass this along to Luke Walton when you get to the arena. This is big.
Or hell, pass it along to Buddy Hield.
That's fine too.
It's easy work. James, I figured it out. If Buddy Hield shoots 2 or more 2-point shots in a game, he's going to ball out. If he only shoots 1 or less 2-point shots in a game, it's going to be ugly. Simple as that. Because statistically, when he shoots more than 1 2-pointer, plays well. And against Portland, he did that, 17 points. Utah, 24 points. 26 against Phoenix, 20 against the Pelicans, 19 last night. When it's only like one of these stat lines, 4-13 from the field, 3 of 12 from beyond the arc, 11 points for against Dallas, 6 points against the Warriors. Give me the 2-2-pointers and more money.
I like it. I also think one of you post the stat that every time Buddy Hield hits a free throw, like an angel gets his wings, or the Kings win, right?
Both are accurate. Angels get wings. And prior to last night, when Buddy Hield goes to the foul line, the Kings win those games.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, he has to be more. And it's weird because it's Paul Rudd on a surfboard. It's too much. No, you're doing too little. You're doing too much. No, back down. You're trying too hard. You know what I mean? It's that, I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but he's trying to teach someone how to surf. And with Buddy, the whole time you're thinking, okay, no, that's too much.
What movie is that? That's gonna bug me. Is it what movie is it? It's not Forgetting Sarah Marshall, is it?
No, I think it's I want to say is it Ben Stiller? It's I know
what James gonna ruin the whole day. This is all I'm thinking about.
Yeah. But anyway, that scene, it I think it really does fit. Like, we talked about it on Friday, right? That Buddy Hield's usage was up to 27%, which is not okay. He was at 20% last year, and his usage is way high, and his assist rate is plummeted. So he's got the ball in his hands more, but he's down to 1.5 assists. His assist rate's under 10. None of that's acceptable. All of a sudden, 1 or 2 games after that, his usage is all the way down to 23.8%, and his assist rate is starting to climb. So it's a small sample size issue, a lot of it. But I also think Buddy needs to figure out a way, because, I mean, we're looking around and we're like, okay, look, Terrence is struggling. Tyrese doesn't really look like Tyrese quite yet. De'Aaron Fox is clearly, there's something going on there. Like, Buddy, try to make your teammates better. Try to find a way to help them, right? It can't always be just about you getting your 3-point shots. And that's something that the maturation, is it forgetting Sarah Marshall? I don't think it's forgetting Sarah Marshall. It's possible. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, look, a really good basketball player isn't just good for himself. He makes everyone around him better. And it's something that even last season, I thought Buddy did a much better job. His usage rate, again, was around 20, but he averaged like 3.6 assists per game. He had some really nice dimes to Rashawn Holmes. Like, he started to get in the flow of passing and stuff. And so anyway, I think that the Buddy, like, yes, anytime he gets to the line is a good thing. Anytime he goes to the rack, it's a good thing. You know, even the foul call that was challenged and then got overturned. First of all, I thought it was bunk. You saw it early on that Gobert hit him in the midsection with his left arm as he was going in. The contact was initiated not by Buddy Hield. It was initiated by Gobert. And I thought that was a bad call that really ended up changing the complexity of the game. But I'm okay with him going in.
I don't know what's going on with these refs. It's just terrible. They're terrible. They're terrible. And I'm not, you guys know me, I'm not even really a big complainer of refs, but both ways. It's just, I hate when they get suckered into stuff. Like suckered in. Do the Kings, I think this is the evolution of a De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Halliburton, and Davion Mitchell. I need somebody that's just going to, like, their leg is going to go limp and they'll fall. That's where you get the calls right there. Like you kind of go to the lane, maybe there's a little contact, and you don't step with your foot. It just goes limp, you fall. The rest fall for it every time.
Yeah, I don't like the inequality of the officiating. That's what I hate. Like, you watch one play where, you know, Luka Doncic gets a touch foul on one end, and then on the other end, he just fully like thumps Harrison Barnes to end the half in Dallas, and Harrison's just looking at the official like, is it just me, or that wasn't even close to what happened on the other end? You called the other side and you're not calling it here. And then I think Fox, part of his issue is that like they're not getting any calls at all. For sure. I mean, he's not getting anything.
Nothing.
And so it's like the frustration level of that becomes like a huge issue as well. It was forgetting Sarah Marshall for those people out there. But yeah.
The question gripping the nation now.
It is the question. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? It's like all of these things are playing into what's happening. And the Kings, they will not get respect from the officials until they win. And that's just the way it goes. The one guy who's getting respect from the officials and getting to the free throw line is Harrison Barnes. And it's just because he's earned that, especially over his play over the last 2 years. He's earned that. But realistically, he's a guy who's been in the league and he's diplomatic. He doesn't get texts. I mean, Buddy Hield got thrown out of the game last night.
That's spectacular. Lost $5,000 for, or however much the fine is.
0.4 seconds left. Yeah.
Amazing. You're listening to ESPN 1320 KIFM West Sacramento KRXQ. Nope, not that channel. That's the Christmas channel. See, I'm just so conditioned to say it.
I know.
West. All right, just cut. 3, 2, 1. You're listening to ESPN 1320 KIFM West Sacramento and Odyssey Station, and driven by Lashers, Elk Grove Dodge. You're more than welcome to tune in to KRXQ HD2 at 4 o'clock and listen to Christmas music if you'd like. James Ham, 1320 Kings Insider, with us here. I know no one wants to hear this, James. You pointed this out, and I get it because it's just looked at as an excuse. But I have De'Aaron shot attempts in front of me. He really does get hit a lot. Like he gets knocked around quite a bit, and all that's going to stick in my head is that damn play with Donovan Mitchell at the end or in the fourth quarter where Davion, I think, maybe touched his jersey and Donovan goes flying forward at half court while corralling the ball and looking at the official, and a foul's called. You know, I don't think he goes to the line. I think it goes sideline out of bounds. They get a score on that next play, and it's a 5-point lead right there.
Well, there was no time left either, right? It like the shot clock was winding down and on that inbounds play. And then, you know, I'll bring this up too, because I think it's part of that discussion. Some fans were really upset that Luke Walton had used his challenge early on and then couldn't use his challenge late. And I want to explain some of the dynamics of the challenge. Number one, I think early in the game, he was trying to stand up for De'Aaron. when De'Aaron was having like a little bit of a rough go. Like Walton could sense it. He picked up a second foul. You're like, okay, we can't get him, in the 3 to 4 foul range in the first half. So that was one issue. But also, if you use your challenge in the first half, you're using your first half timeouts, right? So if you lose a challenge, you lose a timeout. If you're using your challenge in the second half, it's the same exact thing. If you use a challenge and you lose a timeout. So if you're in the fourth quarter and you're trying to figure out how the game is going to finish and you got 2 timeouts left, all of a sudden using the challenge becomes much more difficult to do, because if you use it and you're wrong, now you're down a timeout. And how much could that timeout mean in the final 20 seconds or 30 seconds of a game? It could mean everything. It could be, again, the Kings beat who they beat with the 3-pointer at the buzzer by Harrison Barnes, the Phoenix Suns. That they called a timeout. They brought the ball all the way up to over half court. And so the play was like a little short play, as opposed to the play against Cleveland last year where De'Aaron Fox chucks a 75-yard bomb and Harrison Barnes catches it and hits a miracle. So like, again, all of these pieces come into play, especially when you're in a tight game, that, you have to manage each moment. And sometimes it is standing up for a player, and sometimes it's stopping something that's happening, or trying to point out that some inequality that you want to point out to an official that's part of the replay. And that's why they're doing it. It's not always strictly, oh, I think his foot might've stepped out of bounds. And the worst thing about the whole deal is, we talked about this before, you can only use the stupid replay on a dead ball situation. You can only use it when they make a mistake on a play that they either a whistle is blown. So for all the mistakes that they make when they don't blow a whistle, well, you can't review those things. So when Fox does get hammered, you can't review it because there wasn't a whistle that stopped the action. And so again, I think there needs to be a red flag. There needs to be like, okay, that was a foul. Like, I'm just going to throw a red flag or hit the buzzer right then. I want to see that, right now. I don't care if it's a dead ball or not. And even if it stops transition, I mean, what's worse, having someone hit a red button and stop the transition going the other way, or someone running in and doing a touch foul at midcourt? There's no difference. So.
I need the red button. I need a coach very angrily to walk over to the, scorer's table by where they stand and slam their hand on a red button. I think
it's there. It's a green button, but my bad. I'm thinking of like the no button. But
you know what, James? Everything you said makes perfect sense, and I understand that. That was a terrible challenge. I would have much rather him get a technical to support De'Aaron Fox than use a challenge on there, because I actually saw what he was talking about and what De'Aaron's talking about, because Mike Conley, he literally looked for De'Aaron and ran into him. De'Aaron wasn't setting a screen or even doing one of those get in the way things. He was just getting out the way. Conley was beat, looked for De'Aaron and ran into him to get the foul. So I understand what that challenge was all about, but there was no chance that they were going to overturn that. Or I think the other thing he was asking was, did it happen after Buddy had released a shot, and were they going to count the shot? Neither of those were going to happen. I agree. That's probably where his mindset was and I have no problem with it. Just get the technical. You know what I'm saying?
I think in those situations too, you got to remember that your players are talking to you and they're saying, oh, no, that didn't happen. It didn't happen that way. And so you're like, okay, should I buy in? And at the same time, Fox is struggling.
Buddy ruined it for everybody.
Yeah.
Buddy constantly doing this all the time. For everybody.
That's what Lucas learned. Don't trust Buddy. Yeah. Buddy always did touch. He always did do the touch foul. It always happened. So you're just like, Buddy, I'm not doing it. But with some of your other guys, you're like, okay, look, I'm going to give it a look. And I can get the fans are frustrated. To be honest with you, I would like to see 2 challenges a game. I don't think that there's too much challenging. And, I think it slows the game down for a second. But, they've also taken out half the free throws. So now the game's going to end too quick. How are you going to get all these commercial breaks in? The game is just ending. It's hard to write. I'll tell you that.
Commercial breaks during referee reviews at this point, the way that one went with 3 minutes to go and lasted 10 minutes or whatever. And then they had the foul on the Rashawn Holmes, or was it a foul, or they said he jumped too early on the Rashawn Holmes on the jump ball.
Oh, that was horrible.
That was garbage.
Because it was a bad toss. And it seems like every toss that I've seen so far, not on the main toss to start a game, but the other tosses, like anytime there's a jump ball, again, I would just prefer possession arrow. I mean, because it's just fraught with human error. Like that's every single jump ball is just like, okay, this is stupid. Why are we doing this? There's no way you can have something that stands out here and shoots the ball up a specific height at a specific angle and is fair for everybody. No. So, I mean, after all these years, you still have to have officials, the element of human error on a ball being thrown up in the air. So yeah, that was god awful. I just, in a tight game like that, like there were too many things in a row there that impacted the Kings' ability to have a shot. And including their own ineptitude in certain situations. But also with, sort of the way the officiating, and I don't blame the officials for that game. I wasn't sitting there like, look, they got beat by the officials. To be honest with you, like there have been maybe a handful of games where I've felt that way over the last 12 years, where it's just the officiating was so bad. And most of them came down to DeMarcus Cousins and just blatantly unofficial, like I think Scott Foster threw him out at halftime one game. Like just none of it made any sense but then again, I'm not on the floor getting yelled at by the guy the whole time. So
yeah, no, they definitely didn't lose that game because of the refs, but they are incompetent. Like I just hate how they get suckered all the time. Like do you guys watch the game of basketball? Do you know that like he didn't really get hit that hard and he's flying 15 feet to the left because he knows you're going to be the sucker to call the foul?
But who's the bigger sucker? The ref for doing that, or the player on your team that doesn't do the same thing and get the same call? If them's are the rules,
it's the ref.
Them's are the rules. If a guy is gonna get a call every time he flies to the floor and slides for 8 feet, then maybe that's what you got to do to get the foul. If you really want it, go get the foul that way. And then
Fox could be lying at the center court at a Golden One center with blood oozing out of his head, and he ain't gonna get a foul call.
He could be lying there like Carmelo Anthony was that one time.
When Kobe elbowed Mike Bibby in the face, and Mike Bibby got called for the foul. Yeah.
You've got to get on the road. Last question, and it's just I don't know the answer. Has De'Aaron talked post game at all?
He has talked post game, but not in the last 2 games.
Okay.
The last post game, man, I'm trying to remember. Maybe it's been 3, but like there was a post game where he did talk.
Okay.
The problem was that we waited over an hour. We waited almost a half hour for Luke, and then we waited exactly 1 hour. And I think Rashawn Holmes showed up first. And then De'Aaron finally came out. It was probably like an hour and 15 after the game. And so clearly no one's going to see it on TV. Most of the TV stations have already stopped on the Zoom link. So they're not even, waiting for more, and they're not going to run it later. And so, yeah, that's been an issue. It's something that I think will be addressed, but it's in the world of COVID. Those things can happen more often than in the past, where, really they wait around for us in the locker room, or we wait them out and they have to come back and get their stuff after they've gone to the cold tanks and everything else. So I think it's a little bit of give and take there. But I would expect for him to have a conversation with us tonight. And if not tonight, the next game, or at practice, we'll get him like in a couple of settings here to kind of even some of that out, because it's something that media relations is always like, it's in the back of their mind. Like, okay, he hasn't spoken in enough time. Yeah, we got to get him out here. And I think some people say, hey, you're the leader of this team. I need you out there. I need you answering those questions. Like, yeah, but this team has like a bunch of veterans, right? They have guys that are also leaders, you know, guys like Harrison Barnes, guys like Tristan Thompson, guys like Rashawn Holmes. They're bringing along Davion. They've got like one of the world's greatest talkers in Tyrese Halliburton, you know, so there are other guys that are also in need of getting into this. It just doesn't have to be Fox every single time. But at a certain point, when you are shooting what he's shooting at this point, what is like 34% from the field, 15% from three, like at that point, it's time for you to have a conversation. And he has had some of those conversations, and you know, he's frustrated just like everyone else is. But you gotta. That's why you get the $28.1 million is because it comes with all of these extra things, including media and all that.